Sorry. My thing over here. All right. So this is a good little video. I'm going to turn the lights off just for a second. It's just like a minute and something because I hate long intros. So y'all don't get the long intro. See, 35 seconds of intro.
Oh, wow.
This is talking about the Exodus.
The story of the Exodus begins before the Israelites leave Egypt. It begins with Abraham, when God brings him to the land of Canaan and makes a covenant with him. And in that covenant spells out the entire Exodus. The Lord said to Abraham, "All this land you see, I will give to you and your offspring forever. Go, walk through the length and breadth of this land, for I am giving it to you." On that day, the Lord made a covenant, a formal promise to Abraham. He said, "To your descendants I give this land." God led Abraham outside, and he said, "Look up to heaven and count the stars, if you can. So numerous will your offspring be." And God said, "Your descendants will be foreigners in a country not their own. They will be enslaved and oppressed. But I will judge the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions and return here."
According to the text, the events of the Exodus were not a historical accident. They were directed by the God of Abraham every step of the way.
So that's like a little clip. And this kind of goes along with what we were talking about last week about how, if y'all remember, where it talks about the self-same day. So the day that Abraham entered Canaan, on the self-same day, they exited out of Egypt. Okay, so we have come through all of the plagues. We've come through the exit, and that's kind of where we're picking up, all right? So let me give you the memory verse, Isaiah 41:10, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteousness right hand." Does that apply to us today?
Yeah, sure.
It does. It still applies to us today. So picking up in Exodus 13:1-3, where I'm going to go fast in some parts and I'm going to slow down in some parts. What do you need? Oh, sorry.
I get to see. Okay.
Sorry. I would have never turned it back
I was
on.
gonna say I'm gonna turn it over here. I didn't even think about it.
I didn't either.
I can't see the thing very good.
Oh, it's good. All right. So then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Consecrate to me all the firstborn. Whatever opens the womb among the children of Israel, both man and beast, it is mine." Isn't that something to say, like right in the middle of when the Exodus is happening? But didn't he do the same for the Passover? We have all the plagues, and then it's like a pause. Let me give you the details of the Passover, and then we've got the final plague. We got them asking for the jewels. They're fixing to come out of Egypt. Pause. Let me give you this next direction here. "And Moses said to the people, remember this day in which you went out of Egypt, out of the houses of bondage, for by the strength of the hand of the Lord brought you out of this place. No leavened bread shall be eaten. On this day you are going out in the month of Abib, and it shall be when the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in this month." That's why I played you that little clip. These promises were made to Abraham 430 years ago. And he knew they were going to go into bondage. He knew that in the fourth generation that somebody was going to come to lead them out. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the seventh day there shall be a feast to the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and no leavened bread shall be seen among you, nor shall nor shall leaven be seen among you in your quarters. You can't even have it in your house. Don't even put it in there. This is supposed to remind them of what God has done. And you shall tell your son in that day, saying, this is done because of what the Lord did for me when I came up out of Egypt. These were supposed to be teaching moments that are passed on. It shall be a sign to you on your hand, and as the memorial between your eyes, that the Lord's law may be in your mouth, for with a strong hand the Lord has brought you out of Egypt. That means it's supposed to constantly be on your mind. Just like you'd look down at your hand or focus on something with your eyes. It's supposed to be continuous. You're supposed to dwell on like God's word or what God has done. You shall therefore keep this coordinates. They give that. Ordinance. Let me go back. Sometimes when I do this, it ain't gonna do it. It's got all my notes up there. It's fine. Y'all can see my notes. The ordinance in its season from year to year. Keep in mind at this time, did they have the first 5 books of the Bible? No. That makes this even more important. They don't have words to look at. So having this feast every year is a way of passing it on. It shall be when the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to you and your fathers, and gives it to you, that you shall set apart to the Lord all that open the womb, that is, every firstborn that comes from the animal which you have, the male shall be the Lord's. But every firstborn of the donkey you shall redeem with a lamb, and if you will not redeem it, then you shall break its neck, and all the firstborn of man among your sons you shall redeem. This is specific instructions again. So it shall be when your son asks you in time to come, saying, what is this? That you shall say to him, by the strength of the hand of the Lord brought us out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh was stubborn about letting us go, that the Lord killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. The reason God wants the firstborn of man and beast consecrated to him is so they would remember what happened in Egypt with the firstborn of man and beast.
Just sacrifice.
But do you realize, like, we kind of read over that and we don't link it? Yeah, all of the time.
Do they sacrifice the animals this time? I know they don't, the children.
No, they do the animals. They will sacrifice the animals.
Well, what are they doing with the children? Just telling the children that sacrificing this is redeeming you as the firstborn?
Mm-hmm. It's all like the
just teaching
like the atonement.
Yeah.
Right. This is like the blood atonement. Yeah. Therefore I sacrifice to the Lord all males that open the womb, but all the firstborn of my sons I redeem. It shall be a sign on your hand and as the frontlets between your eyes, for by the strength of the hand of the Lord brought us out of Egypt. Then it came to pass, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines. This is another detail. They didn't go the easy way. They didn't go up where the Philistines were. That God did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, lest perhaps the people change their minds when they see war and return to Egypt. They're going into Philistine land. They're not ready for it. They just come out of bondage, and if they immediately go into a war, they're going to want to go back to Egypt.
But they always want to go back.
But they're going to want to go back anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what they were doing.
Okay, so next one.
Because of the manna and
I
everything.
guess they were
else.
closer. That
We
way.
could eat this old manna. We could have leek.
Pay attention. Oops, I went up too far. Y'all see this, don't you? I hit one thing and everything goes haywire.
Well, it's not going haywire on that.
Ah!
It is now.
See? I didn't even hit that one. Okay. So God led the people around by the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea. And the children of Israel went up in what?
Orderly.
This was not chaos. They were not running. This was orderly out of the land of Egypt. And here's a good part. Dead man walking. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him. Remember, he charged them When you go up, he had faith that it would happen. When you go up, take my bones with you. So Moses goes, and if you remember, it's been weeks now, probably a month or so back. You remember the tomb that was empty that they think belonged to Joseph? There wasn't no bones in there. They took the bones of Joseph with them.
Just a side note.
Yeah.
I was listening to Ben Shapiro again, and he had a podcast with Jordan Peterson, and they were in Jerusalem, and they were talking about the tomb of Joseph and David too, I think. They were talking about those tombs. It was kind of interesting. They were talking about all the stuff in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool.
Okay, so let me give you this. If we were to average a 3 foot by 3 foot space, that gives me kind of a good cushion right here from people. For people leaving Egypt, standing shoulder to shoulder, 100 feet wide. The length of the Exodus caravan, including livestock, would be 42 miles long.
Wow.
We don't always get that.
We think they crossed the Red Sea in like 2 minutes. There's 2 million people.
Yeah.
Plus their livestock.
No way.
Yeah, no.
No. And we get that off of movies.
42 miles long.
Yeah, we get that
We
off
don't
of
see
movies.
that number.
Yeah,
Well,
but
they
reality
check
is
it
different.
out and get the right thing, I wonder.
You would think they would. Really. And then it says here, for he had placed the children of Israel under a solemn oath, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here with you. So they took their journey. Now, this is where we're going to start map points. I didn't know y'all was going to do geography in Sunday school, but it's important. They journeyed from Sukkoth and camped in Etham at the edge of the wilderness. Remember, they got all these people. Some are probably going to be old. They're not going to be able to go as long as some of the other ones. You've got children. You've got to eat. You've got to have water. You've got to feed your livestock. You can't just push on through like an army. All right? It says, and here's another important part. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and by night. So whether they traveled daytime or nighttime, I can possibly see they're not just stopping for the night and hunkering down. They stop for a few hours, they move. When they get tired, they stop again and they move, whether it be day or by night. It's kind of just small rest stops along the way. And it says, he did not take away the pillar of a cloud by day or the pillar of fire by night before the people. Now, map point 1 is, we'll have to back up to get this one. I didn't put it on there. It's from Ramses. And you remember that's the name of the city. From Ramses to Succoth, that's in Exodus 12:37. God led them away from the land of the Philistines through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, 600,000 men only. We're not counting women and we're not counting children, so it's estimated to be about 2 million people. That's where they get that estimate from. And they went armed. And map point 2, we just read in Exodus 13:20, Succoth to the edge of the wilderness in Etham. As the Hebrews journeyed, they did not go alone because God is going to be in that pillar of cloud or fire, whichever one they needed. Now 14, y'all see, this is what I deal with. It's blank up here. So I don't know what's coming, and then all of a sudden, surprise. Exodus 14:1-3. Now the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel that they turn and camp before Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, opposite Baal-zephon. You shall camp before it by the sea. He's given them a specific place to stop. For Pharaoh said that of the children of Israel, they are bewildered by the land. The wilderness has closed them in. Pay attention to that, because I'm going to bring it back up in a second. The wilderness has closed them in. So map point 3 is from Etham to Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, over by the...
Glad you can say that.
Yeah. over by the sea against Baal Zephon. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. Pihahiroth was a fortress used to defend Egypt from Asia. All right, if it's you're still in Egyptian territory, but if you're defending from Asia,
Asia's next.
that's the line. This fortress is close to Typhon's sacred place. Have y'all ever heard of a Typhon in mythology? All right, Baal Zephon, that would be the one translated as Typhon. Zephon, Typhon, they're kind of similar in etymology. Typhon was an evil demon in Egyptian mythology. It meant something totally different in Greek mythology. Yeah. Okay?
I didn't get all that mythology when I was in school.
Yeah, right.
That's too much for normal people.
Okay, so Sinai has always been in Egyptian territory. The Sinai Peninsula. It's never been anything other than belonging to Egypt throughout history. The thing about it is, that changed, I have that note over to the side, is in 325 AD. When you've got Emperor Constantine, you know, he has the vision and converts all of his armies to Christianity. His mother took up this, it was a noble quest, I guess you would say. She wanted to find all the holy sites. Where was Jesus born? You know, where was Jesus? Where did he die? One of the places she wanted to find was Mount Horeb. She goes and she asks, you know, the Bedouin shepherds and everything else all in the territory, and she comes up with Mount Sinai and places it on the Sinai Peninsula, which is in Egypt. Everybody in Egypt, if they didn't know who Moses was in his first 40 years, they would have known him when he led the people out of Egypt after all of the plagues. Everybody would have known who Moses was. They would have noticed 2 million people coming across and camping on the Sinai Peninsula. And we know, I've already showed y'all a little bit of God's mountain. We're going to go over it in more detail, but on their way to God's mountain, they can't stay in Egyptian territory. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So then, picking up in verse 4, then I will harden Pharaoh's heart so that he will pursue them, and I will gain honor over Pharaoh and over all of his army, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. If they didn't know he wasn't the Lord, but with the last 10 plagues, my goodness, how much more proof do you need?
Really.
And then we look at the tribulation period in Revelation.
I love that thing you gave me. I never knew that.
Yeah.
But yeah, but still, people are so blind.
They are.
Even today.
They don't want to believe it. People are blind.
But it reminds me of Amazing Grace.
Oh, yeah.
The song Amazing Grace. When you're blind, do you know you're blind? You think everybody's like you.
That's
Well, it's who you hang with too. You know, your group.
Yeah. Well, the youth room is really, really dark. I don't know if y'all ever noticed, but if all the lights are outside the room are off and you turn the lights inside the room off, you can't even see your hand in front of your face.
Oh, wow.
So I've done that before where I have turned off all the lights. We're in pitch black. And I said, what if you were born like this? Would you know you were blind?
You wouldn't know any different.
All right. And then I'm outside the room, or I turn my flashlight on my phone, and everybody goes, now do you know you were blind? And now that there's light, do you want to see more? And then I flip the switch on. And then I say, do you want to go back to the dark? No, you want to be able to see. That's the whole purpose of realizing, hey, I was blind, but now I see. You know, we were in darkness, but we don't have to be in darkness because there's light.
Wow.
All right, so I don't even know if I read verse 5, but I'm going to read it again. Now it was told to the king of Egypt that the people had fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people, and they said, why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? We lost our slaves. Why'd we do that? So he made ready his chariot and took his people with them. Now here's an important detail. And he took 600 choice chariots and all the chariots of Egypt with captains over every one. So there's 600 choice ones, countless others. Yeah. Then the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, king of Egypt, and He pursued the children of Israel, and the children of Israel, they did what? Did they run? Went out with boldness. Right here, God's on our side. He's done all these plagues. He's with us. He's guiding us with this cloud and protecting us with a pillar of fire.
You'd think they'd be like that the whole time, though, you know?
Yep. So the Egyptians pursued them, all the horses and the chariots of Pharaoh, his horsemen and his army. You get that? It wasn't just the chariots. All the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, all of his horsemen, all of his army, and overtook them by camping by the sea of Pihahiroth and Baal-Zephon. I wish they would stop putting that word in there, or I would learn to pronounce it. And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, a whole army coming. So they were afraid. You afraid when you see an army coming towards you?
Unless you've seen the past, I would think if God's helping us this far, you better figure He's going to do it again.
There's probably some on both sides.
Yeah.
And the children of Israel, they cried out to the Lord. Then they said to Moses, because there was no graves in Egypt, you have taken us away to die in the wilderness. Why have you dealt so with us to bring us out of Egypt? Is this not the word that we told you in Egypt, saying, let us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than we should die in the wilderness. They already switched. It's better to serve and be a slave. No. Y'all have to go?
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
All right.
We don't want
But
to.
we're, yeah,
We want to hear the
but we're
rest.
singing a new song too.
I'm going to pause right there.
Okay, good.
don't listen
Just
to
so-
anything. I'm coming next week.
Okay. Well, I'll have more because I've got some maps for you.
Okay.
Maps, too.
So y'all can see where we're going with our map
I'm
points.
gonna have to start taking notes. I'm not gonna
I know.
remember all this.
I know.
I'm gonna take notes so I can.
I heard some of that
Go back
other
to
stuff
the
about the